In a previous tutorial, you have learned how to load up App Inventor and tie this in with the AI Starter phone emulation app. We're now going to go on to use App Inventor to make a more interactive application on the phone. I have gone to the S3 App Inventor folder. I'm still in week 2, and I'm going to have a look now at something called Intro App Inventor, Hello World and Hello Friends. And again, I will view this in Office Web Apps so that I can see on screen and follow the steps. So we are going to create 2 applications, a simple application called Hello World and a more advanced one called Hello Friends. The idea is that we're going to make an application that has both input and output, so it can react to what the user's doing and then show them some processing that's gone on behind the scenes. We're going to start off with setting up a new project. So we need to load App Inventor and then create a new project with no spaces in the name. I've gone to appinventor.mit.edu and I'm going to click on Create Apps. Because I have connected my Google account to App Inventor, it remembers me and goes straight in, and what it will do was it will load up the previous project that I was working on. So we're not going to work with this anymore, so we're going to go to My Projects and start a new project. The new project is going to be called Hello World. So notice I'm using camel case, where Hello and World, H and W are capitalized, everything else is lowercase. We're not allowed to use spaces in the name. And when I click on OK, I will get a new clean project with nothing in the viewing area, nothing on the screen, no components other than the screen itself have been created here, and I'm ready to put new items onto my application. So I'm going to follow the stages here. I've set up my Hello World folder. I'm going to add a button and a text box to screen 1. The button is going to be called Button Greeting and the text box is called Text Box Hello. So I'm starting off with a button and I drag it and drop it into the viewer area. I am strongly recommending that you immediately rename any widget when you put it on. So I am renaming that from Button 1 to Button Greeting. It will be helpful if you leave the type as part of the name. So leave button there and then say what the button will be used for. It will be used to make a greeting, hence Button Greeting. In addition, we are going to have a text box. So again, these are all part of the user interface widgets. So all of my items that I can use are available on the left hand side. I'm going to place a text box into the viewer area. So the viewer area is where we see our phone. And then I'm going to rename it in the components area. And I'm going to rename it to Text Box Hello. Back to my instructions. I've got button greetings, I've got text box hello. I have to set the properties of the components. So I'm going to change the font size to make it easier to read. I'm going to add a hint in the text box that says it's ready. And I'm going to change the width to fill the parent. I'm also going to make sure that my button has something useful on it. Click to say hello. So to achieve all of these things, what I need to do is to highlight the widget. Notice it gets a green box around it in the viewer and it gets highlighted here in the component tree. So that particular button, I need to change what it says on it. I come down the properties, which is the far right hand bar, and I'm going to go to the text part. And I'm going to change it from text for button 1 to click me to say hello. When I click off, that then resets what we can see on the button here. Notice you can make changes to things like, for example, the background of your button. So we could make it a green button, and that will then be a go signal for us to go and click on that perhaps. Users, however, will expect to see buttons in grey, so be careful about the choices you make. On the text box, hello, we said we wanted to have a larger font, so I'm going to take that up maybe to 20 points. We can't see any difference there because we need to put in either a value or a hint. Now at the moment the text is empty, which is fine, but a hint is something that will appear in the box until the user replaces it with something else. So I'm going to put in here ready ... and that indicates that the user is expecting something to happen to that box when they click it. The width of the box at the moment is automatic, and it's taking about half of the screen, so I'm going to change that to fill parent, and then it will take up the entire width of the screen. Returning to my instructions, I have changed the text, I have changed the size, I have put in a hint, and I've changed the width, so everything done there. It then asked me to test the emulator on the connection to the actual phone. Remember that for this to work, you would have to have AI Starter loaded, and if I go down to my bar, you can see that AI Starter is running in the background. If you don't have this, you will have to load it from the Windows key. Press the Windows key, type AI, and choose the AI Starter. So, back here, I'm going to go to Connect. I'm going to click on Emulator, and it will tell me that it's starting up the phone. It might take a minute or two for that to happen. So you need to be planning to use your time effectively while you wait for your phone to load and to load up the application that you've made. You can use this time to create your evidence by taking some screenshots and then annotating them in a Word document, for example. Or you could make a test plan or some other research while you're waiting for the time to pass. Generally, the emulator will wait a further 20 seconds after the phone has loaded before trying to start the application. This just gives the phone time to start up properly. And then we should hopefully see our application appearing on screen. So countdown gets to 0, the application starts, and I have a green button that says click me to say hello, and I have a hint in the box, so it's in light grey, which says ready. If I click my button, you can see as it flashes the screen there that it's clicking, but nothing's really happening. And the reason for this is because at the moment we haven't actually added any code to our application. So returning to my instructions, what does the button do? The button does not do anything. What we're going to do is we're going to add some specific code that allows us to make a useful input-output based application. So I'm being advised to click on blocks. Now in App Inventor, there are two modes. There is the designer mode, which is where we see what our screen looks like. And then there is the blocks mode, which lets us program our application. This is a blocky language similar to Scratch, and we can snap together code to achieve what we want our application to actually do. So I've clicked on blocks, and I now need to add some program code. Within screen 1, button greeting, I can drag that and then stitch together some code which says when button greeting dot click, do set TextBox hello to hello world. Notice the colours that are being indicated here: gold for the trigger, green for the action, and red for the value that is going to be supplied to that action. So when we return to the block section here, you can see that we've got different colours that will help you to find the blocks of code. In screen 1, I want button greeting to have some action. So I click on that, and it pops out a list of all the things that button greeting can do. We can change button greeting in terms of what it says on it or how it looks, or we can use these trigger actions, these events, that can be used by the user. So things like long clicks or double clicks. In this case, we want when button greeting is clicked. So I drag this block of code into the main scripting area. When button greeting is clicked, what do I want to happen? Well, I want to change what's in the text box. So I go to TextBox hello. TextBox hello has a few triggers, but more importantly, TextBox hello allows me to set the text that's in there. Now I'm scrolling down to find set TextBox hello.text and snapping this in here. But notice that in actual fact we can choose any of the properties from this drop down. So you can just pick the first one that comes to hand, the first set option that comes to hand, and then choose text from there. I've been asked to set it to Hello World, so I don't have anything more here in screen 1 that can help me. I need to go to the text option and choose to put on an empty text box and snap it in there. But by clicking inside, I can then supply my message. So we now have an event handler which, when the button is clicked, should perform this action here. Go back to Designer, have a look at what's going on here, and I can go and look at my phone and see whether the code has transferred over. So when I click here now, Hello World does appear inside the text box. And it's a bit of a one-shot deal. If I click it again, it's probably running the same code, but it's not making any change to the screen. So if I want to see it again, I'd have to reset my phone back to not having loaded the program in order to see what was going on. One of the things that you should do regularly when you are working with App Inventor is to test your application and make sure it's doing what you expect it to. The other thing that you should do is get some evidence that you are developing an application as you go along. So in addition to the actual phone itself, which you can take by using Alt Print Screen, will capture just the active phone, you can also take evidence of the code that you've created and then write up anything you have discovered in your Word document. So this is the evidence that you will create to show your development of an application when using App Inventor.